basis that our committee did study foreign interference and presented a report to Parliament. And I believe that this is an issue that is within the mandate of the committee. So I appreciate your point of order. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry. I had mentioned to you I may have something to supplement before.
I did not hear that, Mr. Housefather.
Sorry, I had done that before, but
okay, I didn't hear that.
Of course.
So, are you rising on a point of order?
Yeah, okay. I had just a small supplement to the point made by Mr. Garrettson, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
There's no allegation in this motion of foreign interference, nor is there any allegation related to the ethical standards related to public office holders. If there is any ethical violation, it would be by a non-public office holder. So, again, Mr. Chair, I respectfully would request that you identify what within the mandate of the committee actually relates to the motion proposed by Mr. Cooper. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yep. So I appreciate, again, that. I think I've stated within the mandate of the committee and the history of the committee my ruling on that. I have ruled on it, Mr. Housefather. If you have a issue with that, I certainly invite you to challenge the ruling. But in the absence of that, I'm going to go to Mr. Cooper. He has the floor. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. For years, the Prime Minister has attempted to cover up his knowledge of Beijing's interference in our elections, interference that benefited himself and the Liberal Party, as well as attempting to cover up and misstate the facts about what he knew and what Beijing did to support the candidacy of the now sitting member for Don Valley North, who the Prime Minister touted was a member of his team, interference that Beijing engaged in to advance Beijing's interests and also benefit the Prime Minister. It was confirmed, Mr. Chair, at the public inquiry last week that CSIS had briefed senior Liberal officials that Beijing did in fact interfere in the Liberal nomination in Don Valley North in 2019 to benefit the now member for Don Valley North. And we know that the Prime Minister was informed about the contents of that CSIS briefing. And in the face of the knowledge that the Prime Minister had that Beijing interfered to assist the now member for Don Valley North, then the Liberal candidate for Don Valley North, what did the Prime Minister do? He effectively gave the green light to Beijing's interference. He didn't rescind the nomination. There's nothing to indicate that he made any further inquiries. Instead, he merely shrugged his shoulders, signed off on that compromised candidate, and then attempted to cover it up. And when allegations and intelligence came to light about the activities of Beijing in support of the member for Don Valley North, the Prime Minister called people names. He attempted to misdirect and mislead, and now, of course, we know what it was reported on a year ago, that in fact Beijing did interfere in that nomination for the benefit of the member for Don Valley North. And yesterday, the Globe and Mail reported that the classified information that was provided at that CSIS briefing was illegally leaked. And that resulted in the member for Don Valley North being tipped off that he was being monitored by CSIS. We know that only a handful of top Liberals were at that CSIS briefing. These are amongst the highest ranking officials within the Liberal Party, all of whom are closely connected and associated with the Prime Minister. There were three people, three top Liberals at that CSIS briefing. They were the National Director of the Liberal Party, Azam Ismail, Braden Cayley, and Matthew LaFrance. According to the testimony of one of the Prime Minister's top advisors, Jeremy Broadhurst, when he appeared before the Procedure and House Affairs Committee on April 25th of 2023, Ishmael informed him about the CSIS briefing. Broadhurst did have the requisite security clearance. So we know there were only 4 people, 3 of whom were directly briefed, a 4th who received the details of that briefing, and then we know that the following day, the Prime Minister was briefed by Jeremy Broadhurst. So there were 5 people, 5 top Liberals, including the very top Liberal himself, the Prime Minister, who were briefed and had the details of that classified information. And it is important to emphasize the seriousness of what happened based upon the report in the Globe and Mail. Someone connected to the Prime Minister leaked classified information that consequently disrupted an ongoing CSIS intelligence operation. Someone connected to the Prime Minister, a top Liberal official, compromised the work of CSIS and put the partisan interests of the Liberal Party ahead of Canada's national security.
Unbelievable.
And in so doing, they committed a serious criminal offense. They contravened Section 4 of the Security of Information Act, an offense that is punishable as an indictable offense with a term of imprisonment of up to 14 years. It is about as serious as it gets. Someone, one of those 4 people, the Prime Minister himself, or a select number of chiefs of staff in this Liberal government who would have also had at the time the requisite security clearances, leaked classified information that then undermined and thwarted a CSIS intelligence operation to advance the partisan interests of the Liberal Party and that benefited a hostile foreign state, the Beijing-based communist regime. And so there are questions arising from this that Canadians deserve answers, and that we as parliamentarians have a responsibility on behalf of Canadians to get those answers. As I see it, there are at least 4 questions in the face of this shocking report that need to be answered, and that is, which top Liberal official illegally leaked the classified information? Who's the top Liberal who broke the law? What's the name of that person? Who's the criminal that is associated with the Prime Minister who compromised Canada's national security? Secondly, who tipped off the then Liberal candidate, now member for Don Valley North, that he was a target or at least being monitored by CSIS? Thirdly, when did the Prime Minister first learn of this criminal leak? And fourth, did the Prime Minister, once he knew, and he did know, he had to have known, did he refer this criminal leak, this major national security breach by one of his top Liberal officials, to the RCMP? This incident, this scandal, this latest piece in a massive scandal involving Beijing's interference and the Prime Minister turning a blind eye, in some ways giving a green light to it when it benefited him, highlights the absolute rot and corruption of this Prime Minister and those around him. This is a serious matter, it's scandalous, and it is further evidence that for this Prime Minister and those around him, it's all about advancing the Prime Minister's selfish personal interests and the partisan political interests of the Liberal Party, which he leads. National security be damned. It's imperative that this committee, which is the Ethics Committee, which is the committee responsible for access to information, and here we have classified information and a massive illegal flow of classified information, that this committee get to work and commence hearings and bring in, as a starting point, as a prioritize, I would submit, the four people that we know received that classified information. One of those four, the Prime Minister or a senior select number of chiefs of staff in the Prime Minister's government, broke the law, and we need to find out who that person was. And we also need to hold this Prime Minister accountable, because whoever broke the law is one of his top officials. The Prime Minister knew about it, he was briefed about it. We know he turned a blind eye to the evidence of Beijing's interference, and if he did not report this criminal incident to the RCMP, then he effectively was complicit and worked to cover it up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Brock, you have the floor on the motion, please, followed by Mr. Fisher and Mr. Baines. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And I thank my colleague, Mr. Cooper, for his excellent analysis and putting into context the seriousness and the importance of this motion, and quite clearly why it should be studied not only in other committees, but particularly here in ethics. This government I have known all along, as do Canadians, literally for the last 8 years. This is the most ethically challenged, corrupt government this country has ever seen. Yeah. And I think what it does, this public inquiry and the evidence that we have heard through this public inquiry and the reports from a number of media giants, really underscores and makes it abundantly clear to me as an opposition parliamentarian, but I'm sure to my entire colleagues on the bench, as well as across Canada, the rationale as to why the Prime Minister, his government, and his backbench fought so hard to avoid this public scrutiny. We always knew that there was a fire to this raging smoke, this smoke screen, and it brings it really home to me personally, given all the work I've done on a number of committees, but particularly in relation to the foreign interference angle, as to why he handpicked the Special Rapporteur David Johnston, who had access to the same information that the Justice is now receiving, but clearly had a different focus as he was receiving the information and a different focus in terms of his report, that in his view, irregularities wasn't sufficient enough to raise the red flags. No mention at all about the leaks. He had access to that information. Canadians were denied the right to know that information. So it brings it all home to me as to why they did everything that they could to avoid public scrutiny. I've had the ability to really assess the cross-examination of our Prime Minister yesterday and contrast that and compare that to his cross-examination, if you call it, when he testified at the Emergencies Act inquiry by Justice Rouleau. It was not a good day for the Prime Minister. No. There were so many significant differences in the evidence that he gave as contrasted to his Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, when she testified over a year ago.
Yeah, she lied.
Well, some could say she lied, and that's certainly an approach you can take. But the most glaring example was that she was adamant a year ago that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau reads ferocious amounts of material, voluminous amounts of material. Everything that is put in front of him, he reads, and he follows up, and he takes his job as Prime Minister serious. He takes the job of Canada's national security serious. What an absolute joke that is when you hear from the Prime Minister himself yesterday that he's too busy. He's too busy to read confidential briefs from CSIS that highlight incidents that could compromise our national security, that could compromise the fairness of elections, that can compromise the integrity of nominations. He's too busy to read that himself. He wants his yes men and his yes women to do a summary for him. That is a very damning, conflicting piece of evidence, Mr. Chair. And now to hear that there was a top Liberal staffer who reported directly to the Prime Minister, who leaked classified sensitive information, compromising, as Mr. Cooper has indicated, compromised the CSIS investigation. There is clearly an offense for that type of activity. Section 4 of the Security of Information Act spells it out in plain language that a person who holds that confidential information and shares it with another individual, in this case, the member for Don Valley North, has committed an offense under that act. Section 27 outlines the punishment for that act. What my colleague Mr. Cooper talked about was the indictable phase of the prosecution of that offense. It's actually a hybrid offense. You can proceed by indictment or summary conviction, but given that the limitation period for prosecuting by summary conviction has long passed, it has to be indictable. This person has a high probability not only of being convicted, but a high probability of spending the next decade in federal prison. That's how serious this matter is. I thought, in the last 6 months to 12 months, Mr. Chair, involving in all the scandals and all the rotten corruption from this Liberal government, at one point I was sitting on 4 or 5 committees at the same time, just keeping track of all the scandals. And I just remarked to myself, just imagine all of the referrals that the RCMP are now getting, just from the actions of this Prime Minister and his government and the federal public service. I just spoke to my friend, Mr. Cooper, and I said I often wake up at night just thinking about all of the scandals, all of the potential investigations. We finally had an opportunity not too long ago, Mr. Chair, to question the commissioner of the RCMP regarding the SNC Lavalin scandal. And the only thing that I could conclude from that, notwithstanding their strong proclamations that nobody is above the law, including the Prime Minister, the evidence was there. The evidence was very, very clear based on the information that they had available to him by the Ethics Commissioner that Justin Trudeau did commit the offense of obstruction of justice by attempting to interfere in the decision-making of his then Attorney General. So the only thing that I could conclude, as well as many Canadians reviewing that exchange, is that there was indeed a two-tier level of justice. Now, I'm hoping that the RCMP are watching this, that they're following along with the inquiry, that they're reading the press, and that they are gaining some suspicion. To launch any police investigation, Mr. Chair, there has to be some suspicion. To lay a criminal charge under the Security of Information Act is a low threshold. Do the RCMP have reasonable and probable grounds, a very low standard to proof beyond a reasonable doubt for conviction purposes? Do they have reasonable grounds to believe that a top Liberal insider, political staffer who reports directly to Justin Trudeau leaked highly sensitive, classified information from CSIS? I think based on the evidence that we have heard in this inquiry, that threshold has easily been met. So I would hope that given their reservations, that no Prime Minister in the history of this country has ever been charged with a criminal offense, that they would cast aside their reservations and their political reluctance to look at the Prime Minister as a suspect worthy of criminal prosecution and actually go after this sole person who is responsible for this leak. My colleague, Mr. Cooper, stood up yesterday in the House during QP and quite pointedly asked the question that Canadians deserve to know, that all parliamentarians deserve to know. Who was that person? The Parle Secretary stood up and completely ignored that question and talked about, as many Liberal members have talked about, that we respect the inquiry, that we welcome the inquiry. Again, completely not being truthful and honest with Canadians. They knew there was something to hide. They knew there was a smoking gun, and here it is. This is worthy of a full-blown investigation, Mr. Chair, and that is why I very proudly support this motion. But before I give up the floor, I am asking for a brief amendment to the motion. There is a reference to a Matthew Lafrance in the motion. Where his name is referenced, the amendment should read, quote, senior Liberal staffer who received CSIS briefing, comma, Matthew Lafrance, end of parentheses. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brock, and thank you for that correction. I'm going to accept that as an amendment. I don't anticipate that we're going to have any discussion on the amendment because it on the amendment, Mr. Gerritsen, because
First, I'd like to understand exactly where it is. I'm looking at the motion. I don't see. And how is it being amended?
just
Replace how it's stated to senior Liberal staffer who received CSIS briefing, comma, Matthew Lafrance. He was not part of the site task force. That's why I'm seeking the amendment.
Okay, so it's an amendment for clarification of his role, correct, Mr.
That's
Brock?
correct.
Okay, thank you. Does that satisfy, Mr. Garrettson, your,
I just wanted to know where it was.
okay. So, I don't see any discussion on the amendment. I'm gonna accept the amendment as a clarification, without any further discussion. Is it agreed? Okay, thank you. So I've been informed, and I'm asking all members this courtesy, please put your phone on silence, no vibrating or tones, because it's affecting our interpreters, okay? They've been going off quite regularly, so. All right, we're going to continue with the discussion on the motion as amended. And we've agreed to the amendment. I've got Mr. Fisher, Mr. Baines, and then Mr. Garrettson after that. Mr. Fisher, you have the floor on the amendment, or sorry, on the motion as amended. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I certainly hope you can hear me. I've been having some internet issues, but one of the things I put my name on the list, put my hand up so that I could talk about the appropriateness of this motion for this committee. And I believe that Mr. Garrettson spoke to that. And I believe, Mr. Chair, when I was down, when the internet was off, I believe you ruled on that it was the appropriate place to have it. I still question that as to why that is. I do find it funny that Mr. Cooper is here today, parachuted in from PROC, of which he is vice chair, and it's sitting right this minute. So I do find that a little bit of a surprise. I'm interested in getting back to the thing that we had on the agenda set today for the consideration of the draft report. I see now that we've got 44 minutes left before our time is up, of which we were going to have an hour and 45 minutes to talk about the consideration of the draft report. I would suggest, since there are other people on the list, I'll certainly listen to the other people that have their hands up, but I would like to see if there's a possibility today to get to that draft report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Baines, you're next. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a lot to unpack here, and I'm actually concerned about the hypocrisy of the Conservative Party here. I'm going to talk about a few things, and I'll start off with the fact that this motion is a little bit confusing, considering we have a public inquiry that is currently taking place, and this is an unconfirmed media report. So I know the motion says, given that media reporting states, we have a public inquiry that I'm not sure that this was a discovery that was made there, or if this was a revelation of a media report, and we've seen allegations in media take place previously. You know, and I know the member, Mr. Cooper, indicated there's a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions. The broad topic of foreign interference in the national security and the integrity of our systems is extremely important. But I'm curious as to why the Conservative Party is quiet and has been quiet. We had a Canadian murdered on Canadian soil. We had an emergency debate on it. Zero interest. Nobody showed up on the other side of the house. We have a motion put forward by the member of Surrey Newton, and a very important motion of the intimidation and the threats of foreign actors on Canadian soil that's coming up. And I hope that these members will second that motion and join that important discussion and debate that will take place around that. The hypocrisy I want to speak to is the fact that we've had reports post-2021 nomination of member of Oxford. We've had issues stated by, we've even had the former leader of the Conservative Party indicate that, made claims that him being ousted as a Conservative leader, there was foreign interference. And this is recent. There's been issues of Iran interference in the Richmond Hill CPC race nomination recently. And more importantly, the member from Calgary Heritage and his strong relationship with the Prime Minister of India goes back many years, where he helped produce a news report claiming that Pakistan was involved with the Sikh separatist movement, and if you look at some of the information surrounding his history, I would like to, raise his relationships with the New Delhi-based Observer Research Foundation, Indian think tank set up with funds from Indian oil giant Reliance Industries. And the member from Calgary Heritage helped produce a controversial report by former CBC reporter Terry Molesky, alleging Pakistan secretly created a Sikh separatist movement, and the report was amplified by official Indian government accounts, and which triggered a backlash in the Sikh diaspora community here. Silence on the other side, nothing. So the topic is extremely important, but media allegations, which clearly this motion is based on, a media allegation, nothing revealed in this public inquiry that's currently going on, which is extremely important. And we need to know that if these allegations are real, then bring this all forward. Why is there silence on the other side about these issues that I'm raising right now? And why is there silence? So I know Mr. Cooper talked about questions. Which top conservative is turning a blind eye to these concerns in their nomination battles that they're having? If you look at even their leadership race, there was allegations of foreign interference from India. So you have Iran, India, China. All of these issues are currently being studied in this public inquiry that's taking place. They're being investigated. And if there are allegations to be found to be true, then the RCMP will step in. Why is the Conservative leader himself not obtaining security clearance? The hypocrisy is unbelievable. So I think all I see really here is a lot of bluster and an opportunity for grandstanding and getting the clips that they need, when we have a very important public inquiry taking place in front of everybody, all of Canada. They can tune in, discoveries are made, people are testifying, witnesses are being called, all of the important people listed here will be called in to present the information they have. So I just don't understand why this is being now introduced here when we have a fulsome public inquiry that's taking place. And if I have any, if there are any questions, there actually should be directed towards the Conservative Party and the hypocrisy that they're showing right now, the silence on the meddling taking place from other nations, and their sole focus on just one,
So are you done, Mr. Baines, or I just heard a pause there? Are you good?
I am pausing. Are we
Okay.
allowed to pause?
Yeah, no, it was just you are allowed to pause. It was an extended pause, and I was wondering whether you're done, but you have the floor. Continue, please.
Thank you. I just want to state that I think the members opposite, often come in, table drop motions so they can repeat the practice lines, talk about, the corruption. What about the corruption or the silence and the hypocrisy that we're not, that if you want to hold one party to account, hold yourself to account. There's accountability should be across all aisles. Why don't we ever? I know that members opposite have raised issues around allegations around police stations, but they never raised the point that it was the previous government, Mr. Harper, who set that poor precedent, allowed Chinese police officers to come here, intimidate, and try to repatriate citizens that they alleged were criminals. They set that poor practice. And we're cleaning up that mess now. So the hypocrisy, I just want to reiterate, the key word today should be hypocrisy from the Conservative Party. That they talk about corruption. It goes both ways. The hypocrisy that they're showing, the silence that they're showing in all of these nomination races that are taking place within their leadership, silence, nothing, they're not coming out forward and even calling any of this to account. Their former leader, who recently claimed that he was ousted and claimed that it was due to foreign interference that he was pushed out of the Conservative Party. So I'll end my comments there, and just to reiterate that the first 4 words in this motion are ultimately state that this is a given that media reporting states. We have a public inquiry where Justice Hogue is taking this matter in front of all Canadians, and that the public inquiry should continue. And if there are any revelations there that are discovered, and the appropriate public safety agencies step in to investigate the matter further. So I'll end with my comments there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baines. I have Mr. Gerritsen, Mr. Housefather, Ms. Romanato, and Mr. Barrett. Go ahead, Mr. Gerritsen.
Mr. Baines said it so well. I don't think I need to add anything. Thank you.
And with the extended pause, it really added a lot more drama, so thank you. Mr. Housefather, are you in agreement with Mr. Baines?
I'm totally in agreement. No problem. I cede the floor.
Ms. Romanato, are you in agreement with Mr. Baines and what he had to say?
Well, I will just say I'll remove myself from the list.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett, go ahead, please.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'm going to say that I don't agree with Mr. Baines, but I'm glad we were able to hear comments from members. I'd like to propose an amendment, and the amendment would read as follows. And Chair, before I read the proposed amendment, once it's moved and the clerk has the opportunity to capture it, then perhaps I'll leave it to you to consider if a suspension is in order for it to be then translated and circulated to members. So I'm gonna go ahead with the amendment, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Barrett, with the amendment.
So where in the motion where it says sharing this information, the committee, it would strike the words "call the following witnesses" and read "direct the chair of the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics, to write to the chair of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs, and ask the Procedure and House Affairs Committee to consider this matter, including the following witnesses. And that's the end of the amendment, and the list of witnesses with Mr. Brock's amendment having been accepted would be included.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. I understand, Mr. Green, I see your hand up on the amendment. I understand that the parties have been working on this. So I'm going to allow the clerk to do what she needs to do. But on the amendment, I think it's very clear and very simple. I'm going to go to Mr. Green on the amendment, and then if there is a need to suspend so that we can circulate the amendment, we'll do that. But on the amendment, Mr. Green, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And not to shock the Hansard, but I will go on the record and say that this is a very practical and I think appropriate move by my friends on the Conservative side. I certainly support it. And I think it shows a good faith, particularly, if I'm being very open here, we spent some time discussing our priority of business in the beginning of this meeting in a way that would have set forth the rest of our calendar. And one of the issues that I've had, and I won't be nearly as animated as my last description about Mr. Chong, but is when we have the same things going to multiple committees. And I think what Mr. Barrett has done is eliminated that prospect. Certainly if there are concerns and they've outlined them in a very long and detailed way, they should be studied. And I think PROC is the appropriate place for it to be studied. And I look forward to that. And should there be any unresolved issues that would have more of an alignment with our mandate here at Ethics, then at that time I'd be willing to entertain a revisiting of that. But in the meantime, I think it's important that this committee stay the course with the work that we're set out to do for the remaining of the session, and not necessarily have every other week this new thing coming from our Conservative friends that wants to take precedent over everything else that we do at committee. So I appreciate that we're going to get a chance to hopefully explore some of the work put forward, the valuable work put forward by my friend from the block, Mr. Villamere. And I just want to say that I appreciate Mr. Barrett's intervention and amendment, and hopefully we can find, good consensus around the table to have this referred to PROC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. Clerk
And
is...
feel free, Michael, if you want to clip that and go ahead and put it in your fundraisers, you can do that.
Breaking news. Okay, Mr. Green, I appreciate that. We are going to suspend, just to give the clerk enough time to work on the amendment proposed by Mr. Barrett. We're suspended for a few minutes. Thank you. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We wanted to make sure that we got this amendment proposed by Mr. Barrett to everyone in both official languages. So I'm just going to read the amendment one more time, or well, I'll read the motion as amended, okay? Given that media reporting states that a Liberal Party member informed the Liberal candidate for Don Valley North that he was the subject of a CSIS investigation in 2019, and that this information could only be obtained from classified national security briefings, with the leak undermining the work of Canada's intelligence agency and violating of, it should be violation of Canada's national security laws, and that since only select individuals in the Liberal government and the Liberal Party would have received this classified information from CSIS and would have been responsible for sharing this information, that the chair of the committee, well, this says right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
That's kind of my mistake
Okay.
in the track changes. but
Direct.
That the committee direct the chair of the committee to write.
That the chair of the committee direct the chair of, no, that's not right. Yeah, no.
No.
That, I'm reading it off a screen and I'm reading it off paper here, so go ahead, Mr. Barrett, just to clarify this.
It should read that the chair of the committee be directed
Right.
to the chair of
Yeah.
the Procedure and House Affairs
Right.
Committee and ask the Procedure and House Affairs Committee to consider the matter
matter,
above,
including-
including the witnesses below.
Okay.
And
So let me just finish this, okay? So that the committee be directed, right, to write the chair,
That the chair
that,
direct
that the chair be directed to write the chair of PROC and ask the PROC committee to consider the matter, including the following witnesses. And then that list of witnesses are there. That hasn't changed at all, correct? Okay. Sorry for the confusion. I'm reading off of writing on a paper here. Now, I'm going to go, Monsieur Villemure had his hand up, and then on the amendment, Monsieur Villemure.
I don't know if it's a sub-amendment or just some clarification on the French. The English version doesn't seem to have any issues in it. However, when we write to the chair of PROC, we could suggest that he look at the matter, but we cannot direct them to do it. We can suggest the witness list, but we can't tell them what to do. That's what's a little bit lost in translation here. How can we change that? That the chair of the committee write to the chair of the PROC committee and suggest that he examine the matter above, including, for example, the witnesses below.
Mon préférable, c'est pas de témoin.
Oui, et c'est ça que...
The committee cannot, or can request, as you said, cannot direct. The English version is fine, I believe. But how can we correct the French version? I'm not certain. Well, the first is that, well, the chair of ETHI write to the chair of PROC and suggest that he examine this matter. I think that would be enough. And then if we suggest that the chair of PROC examines these witnesses, if we give an entire list of witnesses, it's as if we are directing the list of witnesses. So we could say, including, for example, the following witnesses. Thank you, Mr. Villemure, for those comments. We can suggest, as you said, we can't give any directives.
Go ahead. Yeah, I see it.
If there is expressed understanding now to you, Chair, that that's the intent, then there can. I don't think that a sub-amendment is necessary because Mr. Villemure's clarification or precision is exactly the intent of the amendment.
Okay.
So it is not a direction. It's for the consideration. Consider the preamble. Consider this list.
Yeah.
And that's because that's not only just the extent of the powers of the committee, but that's also that's the spirit of the amendment.
Okay, so as chair, I'm very clear as to what the intent of the committee is with this motion. I can, with the clerk and the analysts, work on the appropriate language of the letter, okay, to reflect what the committee is asking me to do based on this motion. That's not a problem. Mr. Housefather, and then Ms. Romanato.
Yeah, just Mr. Chair, I listened to the suggestion in terms of Mr. Vermeur, and I think that just to be consistent between the English and the French, the word then ask should be suggest also. So it would be suggérer in French and suggesto, and write to the chair of the PROC committee and suggest the PROC committee consider the matter above. So it's an identical, because ask isn't suggère either, so maybe you just make them both the same. Yep.
That. I will leave it to the analysts and the clerk to suggest to me what should be used, and we will use it appropriate. Go ahead, Mr. Romanato.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I agree with Monsieur Villeneuve. So I actually have a procedural question, given the fact that Mr. Cooper, myself, Mr. Garrison actually sit on PROC. If you were to write a letter to the chair of PROC asking them to consider this, would it not also be appropriate then for Mr. Cooper to bring forward a motion of study at PROC that would then support the letter? So I don't know if it's necessary to include all the names, because I'm assuming he will bring forward maybe with even more information that he would like to include, or maybe we will have witnesses as well. So I'm just asking, maybe we should just have the letter that would support, right, asking PROC to continue their study on foreign interference. And I'm assuming Mr. Cooper could bring forward the motion to include whatever additional witnesses and any other information that he would like to include at the appropriate time. I don't know. I am assuming he's going to bring a motion anyway.
I like the path that we're on. I feel comfortable with the path that we're on. I wouldn't want to be a chair that directs another chair what to do. Ms. Bardish, Ms. Chagger can take our letter as a committee under consideration, and then probably have a discussion with the vice chairs of the committee about where they want to go with this, and then present a motion at the appropriate time at PROC committee. So I would leave it at that from a procedure standpoint. That's what I'm comfortable with right now, and I hope that other members of the committee are in the same comfort zone with that. Okay, so I appreciate that intervention. Mr. Cooper, I saw your hand up. I think it was in relation to this. Okay, I don't see any other hands. I think that we've come to a reasonable resolve on this, and I appreciate the work. First and foremost, understanding the seriousness of this, but secondly, for coming together and working together to make sure that it's directed in a place where I hope that it's disposed of quickly. As Mr. Green said, we do have some work ahead of us on this committee with 17 or less meetings, and I don't want to diminish any less the importance of this issue. We are the Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics Committee. We are an oversight committee that's deemed to hold the government to account, and I hope the same can be said about when and if this ends up at PROC. So without any further discussion you're speaking on the amendment? No.
Back to the main motion only.
Okay, so on the amendment, do we have consensus on the amendment? I believe we do. Okay, so on the main motion as amended, Mr. Housefather, go ahead.
Yes, just briefly, Mr. Chair, because I didn't speak before, to give my perspective, I think while the inquiry is on, I do not think it is appropriate that the committee be seized with this at this time, so I'm going to be voting against the motion, because I think this should wait until the inquiry is over. I think that's the appropriate venue for discussions of this. The member mentioned a number of things. The Conservatives have a lawyer at the committee that can cross-examine the witnesses. These issues can all be raised, and I would have waited till afterwards. And I also don't agree necessarily with the allegations that are set out in the framework, so I'm going to vote against. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other discussion on the main motion? Go ahead, Mr. Gerritsen.
Yeah, I'll just add my comments. I mean, with the directive part of it in the motion, I don't have much of an issue, but it comes to the preamble and everything else that's kind of in there that is where I have an issue.
Thank you for that. I can sense that we're not going to have consensus on the main motion as amended, so I am going to ask the clerk to take a vote. No further discussion. Go ahead, Madam Clerk, with the vote.
On the motion as amended, Mr. Baines.
Mr. Baines.
Against.
Ms. Homonado.
No.
Mr. Fisher.
No.
Mr. Housewater. Mr. Gerritsen.
No.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes.
Mr. Brock.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Monsieur Villemure.
Oui.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Yeas 5, oui 5, nays 5, no 5.
Okay, and I'm going to vote in favor, Madam Clerk.
Yeas 6, oui 6, nays 5, no 5.
Okay, so the motion as amended carries. I don't